Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Rectified podcast. Today, my guest is Meagan Williamson, and we're going to talk about Pinterest. I'm so excited. Pinterest is my favorite. So, welcome, Meagan.
Amazing. Thank you for having me.
Tell me a little bit about your love for Pinterest.
Well, I
Basically.
could talk all day about that. It's so funny because most people start out with like a real bang with as it relates to business. But the funny thing is that even though I work in the Pinterest marketing space, my love for Pinterest started as a normal social media user, not as somebody who was trained in advertising or marketing. I actually just naturally gravitated towards the platform. It was
Mm-hmm.
during a time when, now I don't want to age myself, but most people were blogging and social media was relatively new. I think that what we saw was people started personal blogs, some, gossip and
Yeah,
fashion
yeah.
and how to like wedding planning and DIY. And as somebody who was I loved reading those things on my lunch hour, and I got really into reading and consuming blogs. I actually moved over to Europe and took a break from my trained career. So I'm a trained school psychologist in Canada.
Okay.
And I started thinking, like, I have all this extra time. Maybe I should start a blog kind of talking about my travels and what I get up to as a Canadian living in Scotland and then Northern Ireland. And it was around that time when social media started to become a thing, especially for people like
Mm,
what we would have called bloggers, but we now call content creators, whatever
yeah.
you want to use it. So
Influencers.
yeah, influencers, people who were sharing their ideas online and they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to promote like, hey, I wrote this great blog post about, 12 things to do in Edinburgh, what you should do if you visit, that type of thing, or any topic really. And at that time, I actually feel like I was using the internet and I was decorating my cute little row house that I had in Belfast. And I would just save all the photos onto my laptop, like in a folder called like home inspiration. And then I noticed
Mm-hmm.
that some of my favorite bloggers began talking about this platform called Pinterest. And it was
Yeah.
by invite only. It was in beta.
Yes.
Not very many people had accounts, but I was like, "Oh, this is really interesting." It's like a virtual online scrapbook, so I don't have to save all my images to my desktop and put them in a
Yeah.
folder. And so I applied and, I think it was like a month later, I got the invite from Ben, the CEO of Pinterest, to join Pinterest and start collecting and curating my inspiration and my ideas.
Mm,
And within 2 years, I had over 100,000 followers. I was being featured by Pinterest and I was just using the platform. Yes, I was a blogger, but I really just used it because I liked it. It was this quiet
mhm,
place. I could share all the things that I found inspiring and other people liked it. And that's
mhm.
where my love of Pinterest came from.
Yeah. I was one of those people, but I never used it for like a business or something. It was just,
Yeah,
I'm always curious about, anything new. And then I'm
sure.
like, oh my God, I need to get the invite. And I got my,
Right? It's like
yeah,
a club that you wanna get invited to, the
yeah,
new thing.
exactly.
But there were so
Exactly.
few things at that time, like, we didn't really have anywhere where we could share just images or like, we would create a big, long blog post with images that we
Hmm.
loved and link back to the
Yeah.
original creators. But this was this really easy way for me to I think I really gravitated towards it because I feel like I was a natural, like, curator. Like,
Hmm.
I maybe
Hmm.
am not a skilled interior designer but I have, like I know what I like, and I was really good
Yeah.
at curating. And so
Yeah.
Pinterest became this really beautiful place where I could plan, like, trips. I could plan, like, amazing recipes that I wanted to try and refer back to it. And
Hmm.
it was like a few years later where I realized, "Wait a second, this could be used for business as well."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's when I started to sort of figure out that marketing piece.
Hmm. Hmm. It's really interesting. The other day, I was talking to a couple of friends, more
Mhm.
like work friends,
Mhm.
and we were having coffee and talking, and one thing led to the other. And then they're like, oh my God, I don't go on Instagram and TikTok and all of these things. I only go on Pinterest.
Ah,
And
yes.
then one of them was like, oh my God, it's like really don't say that I'm old, but this is the only thing that I like.
Mm,
And I don't know what things, just like conversations like that.
sure.
And I'm like, do you know that you can actually, it's very beneficial for businesses and you can actually use this platform. Everything you're putting on your board, it's a business that put it out there, like the couch that you liked or the
Yeah.
lamp that you liked. And they're like, oh my God, we never thought about it like that.
But that's
So
just
it
it.
was,
Actually, but they're the perfect example that Pinterest is this much more embedded private place where you can curate
mhm,
ideas. And I think that's why it's this like secret weapon for business owners is that people are
exactly.
naturally going there because it's quieter. It doesn't feel as disruptive and shouty compared to other types of other. I think that we can all acknowledge that like social media has changed so much how we use social media, what is
Yeah.
expected on social media. And I think even when I talk to my friends who aren't online and are just regular people, we
Mhm.
talk about how they use social media. And there's this move towards like, well, I don't want to just spend a ton of time looking at like scrolling the feed on Instagram, or I
True.
don't go on Facebook very much anymore because it's just like my aunt who's always
Yeah.
like talking about, something that I don't agree with. And as social media
True.
has changed, I think too, like generations, it was like really exciting and novel. Now it's sort of like a lot of people have social media, and we realize like it's not really good for me to sit in on a Saturday morning
Mhm.
and just like stare at my phone all morning. Like I need to go out and do stuff. So we're moving towards like making more conscious choices that
Exactly.
aren't bad for us. And I hear it too, especially I think younger generations are almost I joked the other day on Threads that I think people are wanting like a vintage experience of the internet. Like when the internet
Mm.
first came out, we didn't
Yeah.
carry phones around in our pockets. We didn't, you had to go to a computer and look up that blog or to watch a video. Like, even if you had internet
Mhm.
access on your phone, it was very expensive. Like it just wasn't
True.
accessible. And now
Yeah.
it's like everything's at our fingertips all the time. We have unlimited data. But I think that we are becoming more conscious consumers, and we don't want to go to a family event and be on our phone the whole time. We want to
True.
live in those moments. We want sort of this like, what would happen if we went out for dinner and no one looked at their phone?
Mhm.
What if when you wanted to talk to somebody, you called them? And I feel like that's why some people
Yeah.
love Pinterest because it still feels so protected. It's
Tr
not, and it's not to say that there aren't things there. Like I know that there have been some more complaints about AI images or about
Mm.
ads.
Yes.
But it's still compared to its competitors or peers like Instagram, Facebook, X, or even, TikTok, it doesn't feel as intense as other
True.
platforms.
True. Speaking of ads or like disruptions in social media, I got this comment in the same
Mm,
conversation with my friends. One of them was like, "Oh, but there's like too many ads. Like we
mm.
can't find anything anymore."
Uh,
And that's like Pinterest lately pushed a lot of,
yeah,
ads on like businesses, and they have these people who help you, set up your ads and this and that.
yeah,
So let's talk about that. Like, what do you think, first of all, about the fact that there's a lot of ads, like much
yeah,
more ads than it used to be?
yeah. So actually, my personal take on that right now, like the way that I sort of view things is, these platforms are all free. They have to make their money somehow so that they
Yeah.
can continue to grow. And so Pinterest admittedly does that through people running ads. Meta has done that. Meta's been like that for years and years. And it's true that we felt like Pinterest was this protected place. So there's some very, loud opinions being shared like, "Oh my goodness, like I was trying to look for an outfit and all I got were a bunch of ads." I will admit, like we're filming this in the start of
Mm-hmm.
fall 2024,
Yeah.
and it's relevant. Like I don't want to age things, but this past summer, Pinterest was clearly testing ad saturation. And what I mean by that, for
Mm.
anyone who's not sure what I'm talking about, is in the media buying realm, they will basically push and test how many ads can we show before people get annoyed with us. I do think
Mm-hmm.
that I know because I have the privilege of working with a lot of people who are all over the world. If you were based in the US, you absolutely saw the most advertising in your feed. The second highest was Canada, and the
Mm-hmm.
lowest was if you were in Europe. And it's because Europe has different regulations for ads.
True.
And I just think that what I heard from people, and again, like it's not like I did a big study, is that basically I do think there's two things at play. One, businesses are sick and tired of what's happening on other platforms, and they're attempting to diversify where they spend their money. A lot of businesses that traditionally were not on Pinterest are now coming with their money and
Mm.
testing and exploring paid advertising on Pinterest. So that's one thing. Two, they took money from, say, Meta or Google Ads or other ad spends, traditional print, and they're putting it to Pinterest. So we were seeing people like Temu, Amazon, all these brands that
Yeah.
have never advertised on Pinterest before were showing up and putting a lot of money behind their ads.
Mm-hmm.
Two, Pinterest was exploring how much, how many ads can we show before people get annoyed. What I will say is like, I think certain search queries, especially related to fashion, were very, very high. I didn't, I
Mm.
experienced one or two times where I was searching and I was like, wow, this is a lot of ads and it's really
Yeah.
annoying. But for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
my own experience wasn't that interrupted, but it's probably based on my own search behavior. So I hope that they got feedback. So if people
Mm.
are listening and they're like, yeah, like when I go, like share that with them. They need to know because they really do talk about, I attend a lot of the workshops and webinars, and they say, like, we want to have ads, but we don't want it to be really disruptive to your experience. So what you're
Yeah.
describing from your friends and what I've heard is it does feel like this past summer, ads became disruptive in North America.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so it's important for Pinterest to hear that feedback so they can adjust. Do we have control of that? No. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
We've seen it
Yeah.
happen on lots of other platforms. I'm in Canada, so we don't hear as much about
Yeah.
like what it's like on TikTok with advertising. But I know in the
Mm.
US, a lot of people talk about how TikTok is really gotten hard to use because of its advertising or YouTube.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they want to push you to YouTube Premium. So
True.
it just depends. I do agree though that in some searches I found that it was
Mm-hmm.
like it was not nice.
Yeah.
That said, I feel like they have throttled it back already as we're in September and they've already adjusted it. Like they were like, whoa, okay. I think too,
Yeah.
like they look at data, like if people see so many ads, are they leaving the platform? Are we pushing them off? And hopefully they respond to that information. Because I
Mm-hmm.
know
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in a feed, I'm searching something and every other image is an ad. Guess what I do? I close the app.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I hope they're I hope they're listening to this
Mm.
and they will take that into consideration. But yeah, everything you said just like makes sense. Um, the whole Pinterest app is changing a lot, but they're testing things and they're
Mm.
pushing a lot of businesses to join. So let's talk about the business part. If I'm selling a product, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
what do I do on Pinterest? Because
Mm.
I see a lot of people go on Pinterest and just post like they're on Instagram or on
Yeah,
TikTok, and every
sure.
different platform has a different pub.
Absolutely.
Yeah, different people are there, their behaviors are different, the type of content they consume is different. So let's say I'm a business owner and I'm selling something, whatever, a pen or a book,
Sure.
whatever it is. What do I do on Pinterest?
Yeah. So the first thing I would recommend is really understanding that Pinterest is a different platform. And you hinted at this, but pinners, so our audience, our customers, our clients, the people that we want to sell to, they are not expecting the same experience of what is on Instagram, YouTube, or
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, or whatever comparable platform or different
Yeah.
peer platforms, whatever you want to call them. They are expecting a much more, pinners are seeking information. They're seeking inspiration. They're looking for you to share high quality lifestyle content, solutions focused content. So, can you share your products as a physical product business, e commerce, or even if you're selling digital products? Absolutely. But remember, pinners want to be inspired. They want to find information, even if it is a product, but they're not expecting and they're not looking for that experience that is on Instagram. So, one of the biggest reasons why is because it's a search engine that was originally fed by high quality blog content. So, what this means is people expect to curate things that they find helpful, that they find inspiring, useful, beautiful, could be instructional, could be just even like um, 7 reasons why this pen is the only pen that I bring to college classes. Like, they're looking
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
more in-depth information, not here's the pen, like here's my favorite pen. Here's my pen. It
Mm,
helps me write. Why would I
yeah,
don't need that
yeah.
information. But it could be a critique about why, as an entrepreneur, these are the only pens that I buy. So I could talk about the quality of the ink, how long it lasts, that it doesn't smudge. So I'm somebody that when
Mhm.
I write, I write fast. I'm like that. And I once bought these expensive pens, smudged all over my paper. And I was just
Yeah.
like, yep, might as well just like, I donated them right away, gave them to my kids, gave them to a secondhand shop. So for me, it's Pinterest is looking for solutions. And I find that oftentimes what works on those other platforms just doesn't work on Pinterest because, like your friends and your coworkers, they're expecting a different experience. So it's all
Yeah.
about your content. It's all about you meeting pinners where they are at. So what I would recommend, and starting at step 0 or step 1, get a business account. You are a business owner. There's no reason for you not to have a business account. So separate personal from business, even if you've had a personal account for years. Remember, the way that we approach our social media as business owners is different and it's strategic. So right away, get a
Mhm.
business account. From there, what you want to think about is what type of content vehicles do you have? So are you creating video content? Are you making Instagram reels? Are you making TikTok videos, YouTube videos? How are you promoting your business through video? It's 2024. Video is not going away. We need high
Mm.
quality, informative, great original video. Next, think about how you are going to create a high quality content marketing plan. So because I have a background in blogging, and content marketing and really understanding that people don't just want the thing. This is a pen. I can hold
Mhm.
it. It releases ink and allows me to write. Those are features. What we want is a story. We want to be inspired. We want to learn something. We want you as a business owner, your unique perspective on the thing that you're selling. So why is your pen the best pen? Why is it the pen of choice of entrepreneurs? Why do college students love it? Is there, like we need to have more depth and have more content to really inspire people to want to buy our thing. What's really beautiful
Mm.
is Pinterest has become sort of an embedded shopping platform where you can easily
Yeah.
find products. That was one of their goals. I think one of the early frustrations of Pinterest is you would see this beautiful living room with a couch and you'd be like, I want that couch. Like this happened to me. I saw this
Yeah.
beautiful, gorgeous velvet couch. I could not figure out where this couch was from and how to buy it. So, what they're trying to do is that when you see something, you're inspired by it, they want it to be easy for you to find that product and buy it. And that's part of that embedded, immersive, dynamic social media experience is we
Mhm.
want to be able to shop without friction. But Pinterest really loves lifestyle content, solutions oriented content. And so I think that's where a lot of business owners stumble. They have a hard time. They're in their zone of genius about the products they make. They're
Mhm.
not necessarily expert marketers or content
Yeah.
marketers. So, what I would really encourage people to do is spend some time understanding your industry or your niche and your audience on Pinterest. It's a
Mhm.
search engine. They're looking for um, how to hold a pen without getting cramped, how to, um, how to start calligraphy, they're looking for content in and around how to use the pen,
Mm.
how to troubleshoot any problems. They're looking for more in-depth information. So I want you to spend some time looking up keywords, looking up those questions. It's more like Google than it is Instagram or TikTok is becoming a search engine, but just think about
Yeah.
that how does your audience search and how can you embed your products to become really helpful, really useful So literally you
Mm,
are creating an audience and demand for your thing by actually just meeting them where they're at. They want to learn how to train a puppy. They want to make that process really easy. You have products that make that experience seamless. Then it's your job to show up and create high quality content that naturally sells your product. And I feel like I've
yeah.
worked with thousands of business owners, and those that are committed to content that serves and inspires and shares solutions for their audience, they're like a dream to work with on Pinterest because they're already engaging in a
Mm,
really strong content marketing strategy.
yeah. So I keep hearing this from business owners, like they're doing a lot of TikTok, usually e-commerce, direct to consumer
Hmm.
brands who sell product. They love TikTok because they sell a lot through that app. And they're just like, it's time consuming. Video content
Hmm.
is really time consuming, coming up with all those ideas and doing this and that. And you have to be fast and,
Of course, yeah.
publish consistently. But then you take these and they're like, oh, we're not going to create other types of content. They put them on Instagram, fine. Some of them work on Instagram,
Hmm.
some of them don't. But I keep seeing them also on Pinterest.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's a bit weird to
Yeah,
have the exact TikTok on Pinterest because it's a different vibe
it is.
on Pinterest.
Yeah.
Um, so what do we do to try to do like streamline our
Yeah.
content creation process to like, yes, we're doing all those TikToks, but like not put a lot of extra time to also have video content on Pinterest?
Sure. And I think all social media platforms, Pinterest themselves have said to me, we understand that as business owners and creators, making original one use content, especially just for Pinterest,
Yeah.
that's a hard sell, right? So we want, as savvy business owners, we want to get more out of our content. It's funny because Pinterest, I found this gold nugget yesterday. I just shared this on Threads, is that Pinterest embedded in one of their little tutorials to help people in their learning academy. They use
Mm-hmm.
these three words. They talked about reconceptualizing, renewing, and what was the last word? Not reinvigorate, but essentially it was around this idea of taking something that you're creating for another platform and just sort of shifting it for Pinterest. So we're not
Mm,
saying that you can't use TikTok videos or Instagram reel videos, but what I want you to do is like instead of just like, auto pulling it over to the platform, not adjusting your caption, not adding that relevant information, we have to remember that Pinterest is top of funnel. Those people don't know who you are, they don't know your products. And so
mm-hmm.
what I want everyone to think about is really think about how would you adjust a video you've created for TikTok and make it friendly to somebody who's never heard about you before. So creating content that it's a discovery platform. So create that piece of content with your cold audience in mind. So kind
Mm-hmm.
of the language you use, the visuals, don't confuse us. Use simple language. Give us visual cues about what we're looking at and what we're about to see, what we're going to learn. What I would say in a very simple way is the one thing that is sort of a struggle is when people take like a very specific TikTok trend and it's just like a silly dance or a
Yeah.
particular music and then they put it on Pinterest. For me, I'm always asking like what's the purpose of this video? So not everything translates
Mm-hmm.
to Pinterest. What I would say is that anything you're creating that's more instructional, tutorial, how to, inspiration, 4 ways to achieve a look, 10 ways to style bows, or how to get a particular thing. Like there's so many sort of genius. And if you're feeling like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what that looks like, go spend some time watching your favorite creators on Pinterest. So looking at
Yeah.
nails or beauty or travel experts or interior designers when they talk about furniture, like how to get the look, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
such a sort of embedded experience. So what I would say
Yeah.
is not everything is going to make sense on Pinterest, but I do think by just making these simple adjustments, you can make it make sense and get more out of your content. So a lot of people will say like, well, I'm really invested in Instagram, I'm really invested in my TikTok strategy. And what I would say is just take it and spend a few extra, like 1 extra minute, 30 seconds per video, and figuring out how you can just make it make sense for a discovery
Mm,
platform.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, to sum it all up, we don't do trends because the content also lasts more on Pinterest than on TikTok.
Yeah.
There's a lot of TikToks where we see like, I'm telling you what I did today and what I ate, and I'm a business owner, and then I'm getting more personal. These things probably don't work, but it's more like how-tos and
Yeah.
what's in it for the
Well,
person searching.
it depends. I feel like all good
Okay.
marketers would say that. A day
Yeah.
in the life or outfit of the day, things like that that are more journal-esque can work, I think, if they are providing an embedded. This goes back to basics of advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So in the sense where we used to watch movies or a show, and our favorite character is using a particular type of toothpaste. And then we're
Yeah.
like, oh, they use that toothpaste. I want that toothpaste. I think that really smart marketers can use something like a video concept of a day in the life of, and sort of use that content to nurture and educate and bring people closer. The thing is that no matter the platform, your audience is really nosy. They want to know how you do what you do. What I would say is like, what that looks like on Pinterest is I do think that people want to see content that is interesting and dynamic. But from a business perspective, I would just say, like, why am I sharing this? So maybe it features the product. Like, I get into my office or I go into the warehouse and I'm checking samples. I saw a really great account that creates products, and they're heavy on their TikTok, and they were sharing some content to Pinterest. And it was really great because some of the content that was more like answering questions or sharing like what makes their product unique. It's middle of the funnel content for Pinterest. So yes, it doesn't make sense always for people who are top of funnel, but for somebody who's already kind of discovered your product, now they're looking at other videos on your profile, it helps bring them closer to wanting to purchase. So it could be about, like, for this particular example, it was like a organic, healthy snack bar, and people were asking why it was more expensive. And so the owner of the company was in the warehouse, and they were talking about how they source the fruit that is in the bar from local farmers. And so local strawberries are more expensive, they're harder to come by. And because of that, these bars are more expensive. And for me, it's actually like, as a potential customer, I was like, well, I actually really like that. They're a smaller business. They're telling me I don't mind paying more money, the same way that we don't mind paying more money for a 5-star dining experience. I'm not going to pay more money to go to McDonald's or like something that has poor customer service. But if I'm going to have a beautiful, very intimate, high touch, luxurious experience, we don't mind paying more money, right? That's why sometimes when for your birthday or a special celebration, you'll go to a more expensive restaurant. And, is the food any better than your favorite Friday night takeout place? Maybe not, but we're paying for that experience. And I think that videos that differentiate your product and show us how high quality it is or why it's different or more expensive, it helps bring people closer to the sale.
So mainly we mix top of the funnel content with a little bit of middle of the funnel, just in case somebody already knows us. And it can be video or, well, let's just talk about the type of content that we see and the questions that I always get.
Okay.
So we go on Pinterest, we see videos. This is new. I mean, recently it's been like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then we see a lot of pictures there, but the picture does nothing. And it's usually linked to a product page or a blog. And the question that I always get, do I really need to write blog posts and this and that, even if there's like AI that can write things for you? Is that really something necessary?
Well, again, it's sort of blog. You don't have to blog. What I would say, though, is it all comes back to good content is good content. And so the most successful businesses that I see on Pinterest have a healthy content ecosystem. So they are creating different types of content to serve their audience, and that often includes blog content. Pinterest
Mm-hmm.
thrives with new links from your claimed domain. So what I mean is your
Yeah.
website or a domain that you can claim. So you can claim like a stand store if you're on the high, more expensive plan. You can claim different types of websites, but Pinterest has a preference in the algorithm to push out your content that's linked to your website. So some people who create products, say you have 10 products and you don't blog, you don't have very many links from your website to share.
Mm,
So Pinterest doesn't just want you to engage in repetitive pinning, sharing the same thing over and over. But what I would say is the best, highest performing accounts that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars on Pinterest, they're really invested in creating content that is a mixture. So can you link to your products? Absolutely. Can you
mm,
link to collection pages? Yes. But eventually you're going to kind of run out of links. So what I see is often blog content and video content. So you're using these together to create a healthy ecosystem of having fresh links. You can reshare content. You just have to make sure that you're not creating a really repetitive experience. We would never post the same product in 12 Instagram reels back to back to back to back, right? Like if someone comes to your account and
mm.
it's 12 reels that are all talking about the same thing, just from a different angle, that gets really, really repetitive and boring. So
Yeah.
Pinterest is no different. I don't want to go to your Pinterest account and just see a link to the same product 12 times in a row. Why would I
Mm,
follow that? You're not creating any
yeah.
value for me. So do you have to blog? No. Will it make your life easier? Absolutely. But I get that it's time
Mm,
consuming. So, really, what I see is that you should be using video content on Pinterest to drive visibility, to really educate people, to create a dynamic experience. And then we use those image pins that you were describing to drive the traffic. So, what we see is that people tend to have increased website traffic when they're using image pins to drive that traffic. People are expecting, oh, this image pin is telling me about something. I'm going to click through to the website to see if I can buy it, to see if I can learn
mm,
more about it. They're expecting to learn more. With video, we're looking for a more in app experience. We want you to sort of like answer so what or why watching the
yeah.
video. What you need to think about though is that video drives, and this is on most platforms, like it's happening on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, it happens on TikTok, is that videos drive visibility and get pushed out more
Mm,
because they keep people on the platform. But the
mm-hmm.
beautiful thing about Pinterest is, unlike some of the other platforms, is it wants pinners to go out and do their thing. They want people to be able to go to your website. So you can create this great experience of video and images used together for this really sustainable, holistic approach to audience
Yeah.
growth and driving traffic to the thing that makes you money, which for most people is your website.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned fresh links.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, many small businesses, they may have like only 10 products. And even if they write blog posts and create video content and all of that,
Mm-hmm.
they still have to reshare some of the same
Mm-hmm.
links for some product. Will Pinterest like um, block these
Mm-hmm.
or, see these like in a bad way and have these posts reach less people? Or what
So
happens?
the way that Pinterest understands it, know that Pinterest reads, it has multiple touch points that it looks at. It looks at the link that was shared, the image or video you used, okay? And then it pairs them.
Mm-hmm.
And if it has existed before on Pinterest, we call that a repin. And it knows, it'll say, oh, this product link with this product photo has previously existed on Pinterest. And yeah, it won't get shown to as many people, hardly any at all. And that's
Mm,
different because back in the day, Pinterest didn't care. You could kind of be engaged in what they call
yeah.
repetitive pinning. They want you to really think about the end user. So if I come to your feed and I see the same thing over and over again, it results in a really poor user experience. So
Mm,
what the recommendation is basically, if you have a limited number of links, is that you're creating new images or video that link to that same thing. So they want you to really think about how you can continue to provide value. And that's why if you're creating video content and you have 10 different videos that are all talking about how to, that are related to a particular product, a pen, right? But the
Yeah.
10 videos are different. Pinterest will view that differently. So it's kind of like, it's better than just sharing the same video 10 times. It won't get suppressed if it's different
Yeah.
videos, but it does know that you've previously shared that product before. But I kind of call it like gold, silver, bronze. Gold level,
Okay.
best content, new link, new image or new video. Next up is a pre-existing link, but new images or new video. And then the bottom of the barrel, which you can engage, you can share things that have been shared before, especially seasonally relevant things, but
Yeah.
old image, old link, or old video, old link being reshared a second, third, or fourth time.
Okay. All right. That's really helpful. Another question concerning the type of content. So we talked about the funnel, top, middle, blah, blah, blah. But then there's like the type of content that we see on other platforms that says, oh my God, buy this now.
Yeah.
And, like you're ready to buy and then you're pushing that. Does that work on Pinterest or we just still have to keep it top and middle?
No, I would be very clear in the customer journey using calls to action like buy now, see the collection, learn more. Using language like that will result in making more sales and driving more traffic. I think that we do see more and more people buying directly from Pinterest. Some of the difficulty, and I think, this will resonate with a lot of business owners, is that if you really understand your business at a higher level, it's not typically a straight line of when people buy from you. What happens is attribution is really, really messy. And because what I see typically as somebody who's been working in this industry for over 10 years is that somebody will discover you on Pinterest, but then they touch other stuff before they buy. So that's where this idea of like, it's a discovery platform, but then they'll subscribe to your email list. They'll follow you on Instagram. Maybe they go and watch your YouTube channel. And the way that a lot of our platforms, if you use Shopify or another e-commerce platform, or you even like, it doesn't really matter, but we know that a lot of things get attributed to whatever they touched last. But what I would encourage people to do is really understand where people are discovering you and how you convert them. So looking at that, we call it full funnel. So find you on Pinterest and then come to your website, spend time looking around, likely subscribe to your email list, and then they buy with your coupon from your email list. But then when you look at your back end, Shopify says, this sale came from your email list. Well, that's not a lie, but the conversion was actually an assisted conversion. And that's where people, when they really understand the power of Pinterest, of being in your content ecosystem. So Pinterest will bring them in. And oftentimes it's other more intimate things like email marketing, Instagram DMs, places where video, where you're really bringing people into your community and making them fall in love with you and your products, that you'll make the sale. And so look at the full funnel. What I would say is that there are lots more people buying directly from Pinterest. But the thing is that oftentimes our attribution systems aren't measuring it accurately, or, we see over attribution. Facebook and like Meta thinks it's the reason for everything, like literally everything. Google over attributes, Pinterest sometimes over attributes as well. So it's just careful to really understand that full content ecosystem. You can use UTM parameters to get a better sense of this. But I do see more and more people making direct sales from Pinterest. And I think that just shows the people who are invested in it and really want to understand their back end and refine their sort of the shopping experience. Those are the people who are tracking it more accurately.
Is there a place where people, like somebody who's not the expert to do like, the links and the UTMs and all of these things, just like to really get the real picture, like this person came from Pinterest and went to Instagram and then did this, or it's just like we have to rely on each platform and
Well,
guess.
no, I wouldn't rely. I always look at third party. I used to love Google Analytics. Admittedly, I
Mm,
find Google Analytics
yeah.
4 very difficult to use.
Mm-hmm.
I find that every time I'm in there, it looks different. I think that if you're looking for free, you kind of, it's not going to be the easiest. UTM parameters and using Google Tag Manager will help you really have much cleaner data. And so that means that you're using specific, although, it's a lot of work. And so most people, and even that, it's
Yeah.
not a perfect solution. But if you're working on a limited budget, UTM parameters, really getting to know Google Analytics 4 and Google Tag Manager will allow you for free to better understand where the customer journey, where the sales are coming from, if it's direct or assisted. There are obviously beautiful, external outside funnel attribution systems that you can use,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the e-commerce space, but
Yeah.
they're not cheap.
Yeah.
And so there are many that my clients work with. Like I work with a lot of very household brands, very, very big names, multi-million dollar, billion-dollar companies. And so for them, it's like, a drop in the hat to use
Mm-hmm.
something that allows them to really understand where their sales are coming from.
Exactly.
But for a regular smaller business owner, like even myself, I would love to get it. But, at something that costs $500 a month, I'm not going to go
Yeah.
there. So what we use is Google Tag Manager, UTM tracking, and Google Analytics 4. And then I
Mm-hmm.
often just really understand that. And that's where, like, when you've been in business a while, you start to understand most things are not a direct line. And people who want
Mm-hmm.
to simplify it, it's like they just don't know, right? Like
Yeah.
I've seen behind the curtains of thousands of business owners, some making, I just was doing a review this morning, and in the last 30 days, they've made $300,000 and $2,500,000 from Pinterest with organic efforts. And so, like
Yeah.
looking at that, it's obviously you always want to cross-reference it with their back-end Shopify dashboard and then any external data that they have. But it's sort of, those are very complex systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they
Mm-hmm.
understand that it's like, even it could go from somebody could find you on TikTok, they come to your website, they see you have a Pinterest account. Depending on your industry,
Yeah.
they might want to look at your Pinterest account. Then they subscribe to your email list. Well, where's the sale coming from?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
And unfortunately, Shopify will just say email list. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
that's last
You,
touch.
you can never know. Exactly. Meagan, in the previous years, I didn't do this year, but in the previous
Mm,
years, I used to always start talking about this on social media since July, August,
mm.
and it's Black Friday and the holiday season. And people will be like DMing me, why are you talking about this? We're enjoying our vacation and this and that. And other people who like work in big corporations, they would be like, oh my God, this is so in line. Like we always start this in the
Yeah.
summer, all of that.
Yeah.
So now it's fall.
Yes.
And the holiday season is coming, and there's Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all the craze, and
Mm,
everybody's like buying things, especially from Pinterest,
mm.
because you do a lot of holiday boards and
Yeah.
gifts for this person and that person. So are they too late to start using Pinterest for
No,
the holiday
but I would
season?
say you need to start today. So Pinterest typically operates, people are saving and looking at your pins today for purchases in 2 to 3 months. So we know that the largest purchasing power on Pinterest occurs the week of November 11th. Well, November 11th to the 21st. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that people are accounting for shipping times. So is it
Yeah.
too late? No. But what I would say is, because it's a search engine, you need to have your content indexed and understood by Pinterest. What that means is Pinterest is, as it's crawling what your products are, what your pins are about, to understand who it's relevant to. So you really
Mm-hmm.
need to be sharing, there's a reason why in advertising they always did Christmas in July, right? Like you shoot
Yeah,
oftentimes even a year ahead, right? Like people are
exactly.
shooting Christmas content in June and July for the magazine that will go out in October. So Pinterest pinners are planners. I just did a workshop on this in my program yesterday, and it was all
Mm-hmm.
about that We need our pins to be indexed and understood by the platform, by the robots on the platform in September to really have a chance to be shown to people in October and the beginning of November so that they're
Mm-hmm.
buying, mid to late November, even early December, depending on where you
Yeah.
are in shipping times. So I think, people need to start now, but typically even outside of going into Q4, pinners are saving today for action in 3 months. We see that customer journey does tend to be a little bit longer. Now, not all, but the highest ratio of individuals are women with the highest,
Mm-hmm.
like with the household
Yeah.
spending power. And they're planning right now for Christmas renovations, shopping, hosting, gift giving, and they're doing it in the evenings and on the weekends. And so they want to look at all their choices. They want to gather, save all their pins and their ideas to decide where they're going to spend their money in November. So get going
Yeah.
right now and know that even if
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit late, if people are listening to this later and they're like, shoot, I missed the boat, know that you can share that content now and you
Yeah.
will likely go viral or make sales next Q4. And that's the beautiful thing. Pin today for sales next Q4 and the year after and the year after. That's the beauty of a search engine. If you have high quality products and things that are relevant to your audience, Pinterest will send you
Mm-hmm.
traffic for years and years and years. We do not scroll back and buy things on Instagram from a year ago. Heck, we don't go back more than 3
No,
weeks. So that's
exactly.
why it's always about like thinking about how these things work together, create sustainability and longevity, and know that it's not for nothing. So even if you share items now and you feel like you're not going to make any sales this year, you will make sales next year. It
Next
has an accumulated effect for most business
year. Mm-hmm.
owners.
So is it, if we're starting today,
Mm-hmm.
is it better to keep it all organic or to sprinkle it with some ads
Mm.
just to push the content out there because we're not,
Yeah.
like, we're out of time, sort of?
Well, ads is definitely like you're paying to play, right? You'll get in front of people. So ads definitely will accelerate the pathway to purchase. But what I would say is I caution people, if you're not making organic sales, it's really hard to know what will work for you on the platform. So
Mm,
what I would recommend is if you're just getting started, investigate what works for you in an organic sense, and then use that data to decide what you're going to promote. So try to make organic sales and test your funnel. Or if your funnel's converting from other platforms organically, like you have something that's working really well with Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, just know that oftentimes, you need to know your customer journey and you need to be making sales. Pinterest will not fix a sales problem, right?
mm-hmm.
But if you already know your funnel and you're making, it's converting on its own, then by all means, like go to Pinterest, start organic, and then get a sense of what people like, and then promote those things or create something
Yeah.
similar to promote. I do see some people who aren't making sales and aren't growing on other platforms, and they're like, okay, I'm going to try Pinterest now. And then they're frustrated. They spend a few $100s on paid advertising on Pinterest
Mm-hmm.
and they're not making sales.
So the main problem is not that the ads are not working or the organic content is not working. The main problem is not the platform, but mainly their positioning, their brand message, and all of these things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they have to really look into their brand and see what's not working and why is it not resonating with their audience, instead of blaming any platform, not just
Right.
Pinterest,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, it's hard because oftentimes people will get
Mm-hmm.
excited by a new platform, and I get that, but you can't expect miracles. So if you aren't
Yeah.
converting organically elsewhere, or we don't really know your funnel, and then you bring it to Pinterest, I do see people sort of saying like, yeah, I'm not making sales. I'm going to try
Mm-hmm.
Pinterest. And it's great, but I would always want organic data and evidence in sales before
Mm-hmm.
advising anyone to run paid advertising on any platform, whether it's
Yeah.
Meta, Google, Pinterest. You don't really want to pour gasoline on something that isn't working organically.
Exactly. Exactly. Meagan, tell us where we can find you, and if somebody's interested to work with you, how can they work with you?
Yeah, so the best place to learn all about me and what I do is on my website, so meaganwilliamson.com. Of course, I'm available across socials. You can find me on Instagram, Meagan A. Williamson. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Threads, Pinterest, all the places. But you could even just Google search Meagan Williamson Pinterest and I will pop up. And if people are interested in learning how they can work with me, I have information on my website. But you can also, if you have a sort of something custom in mind, you can just send me an email and we can talk about it.
Perfect. I'm going to link to all of this in the description of this podcast. Thank you, Meagan, for being a guest.
Thank you for having me and for your wonderful questions.
It was a pleasure. And to all the listeners and viewers, I'll see you next week with a new episode.